And in recognition of this very important support, I would like to take a moment. I believe we have a video, so please. Great. Wow. That was wonderful. Again, thank you, ING. Very important sponsorship. I also wanted to recognize other supporters of our conference and APAP. You're all in the business and understand how important our sponsors are, but I really wanted to thank them. And as you see, can I have a round of applause for our wonderful sponsors of the conference? And as listed on the screen, we also wanted to especially highlight the National Endowment for the Arts, the British Council USA, and the Doris Duke Charitable Foundation, as well as other supporters, not just of our conference, but of APAP in general. I always like to acknowledge them here in front of you all, including the Mellon Foundation, the American Express Foundation, and the Wallace Foundation. So we all benefit from their largesse, so can we please give all of those foundations a round of applause as well. Thank you. Now, since I'm up here, I'm going to step on my soapbox for one moment. I am often asked about the power and the value of convening. I'm questioned about it, actually. It's like, gathering together in a conference, isn't that old thinking? Is that going to work anymore? We have so many other electronic things. And it comes up in a lot in the context of how we will navigate in this amazing technological time, which, if you read history, you will be looked upon as quite antiquated in 25, 50, 100 years, probably even next year. So I just want to remind technology about that. But what has lifted me up in all of my conversations about the value of convening is a rock-solid belief in our need as humans to be with other humans. We offer that in our work. Indeed, it's central to our work of bringing artists to audiences. And I have absolutely no doubt that the need for us, our artists, and our audiences to experience the incredible joy and indescribable effect of one human to another will remain. And I want to ask you all at this gathering to give a round of applause to acknowledge this underappreciated privilege of being with one another for this celebratory event. But I do think it's really important at this time when we recognize excellence in our field and gather friends that we take a moment to acknowledge those colleagues we lost in 2013. These include some very influential artists, innovators, administrators, educators, and friends. And they've left their mark on our field, and we recognize their contributions as we move forward. And one thing I've noticed is the fact that in this field, often after many years of service, that our friends leave us and are too quickly forgotten. So I've asked for some names. I'm sure this isn't a comprehensive list, but these are just a few of our dear artists, friends that we presented, and colleagues. Obo Adi, Chaz Catlin, Van Cliburn, Cass Crooker, Lori Frink, Chico Hamilton, Richie Havens, Robin Hodgkin, Gail Levin, Rafael Manriquez, Sue McLean, Bobby Parker, Magic Slim, Betsy Smittle, Maria Tallchief, John Udre, and Bebo Valadez. May we please give them all a round of applause, because I know they are performing or sitting in a fabulous billion-seat house somewhere. Thank you. So to begin our wonderful ceremonies today, I'm proud to introduce APAP's board chair, Josh LaBelle.
Thank you, Mario, and greetings. Last 4 days have been an extraordinary experience for me, and I hope the same is true for you. At the member meeting that just preceded this, it was my privilege to announce that conference attendance is up by 7% compared to last year. I want to thank all of our members, our donors, for your strong support, and want you to know that the staff and the board takes that very seriously. It's such an honor to serve you, and thank you so very much for that showing. So hosting this luncheon is one of the chair's privileges, and it's truly an honor. What we're doing today is honoring those shining stars, which sort of tie into our theme of shine. And this year we have many people to honor, so let's dig right in and get started. To present the first set of awards by the North American Performing Arts Managers and Agents, also known as NAPAMA, I am happy to introduce co-founder and vice president of Harmony Artists and the president of NAPAMA, Jerry Ross.
North American Performing Arts Managers and Agents is proud to serve not only as a voice for our membership, but also for all of us who call the arts not just our passion, but our profession. And we have to say how gratified and pleased we are by our ongoing, close, and open relationship with arts presenters. We are all truly part of one community working towards common goals. One of the ways that we recognize achievement in our community is to acknowledge those who stand out in our field, who demonstrate their passion and dedication, and who gain the admiration of their colleagues. Today we come together to honor a few of those very special people. As president of NAPAMA, it is my honor to be able to preside over today's presentation of the NAPAMA Award for Excellence as a manager and/or agent in the performing arts, and also the NAPAMA Award for Excellence in presenting the performing arts. The NAPAMA Award for Excellence as a manager or agent in the performing arts is given to a Distinguished colleagues serving in the industry in this professional capacity. The nominated recipient must be personally active, and their organization must be an active company involved in the performing arts industry, representing artists, attractions, or events that are deliverable to the performing arts field. The recipient will exhibit proven dedication to the past, present, and future of providing artists and attractions to and for the performing arts field, a high level of professionalism in all industry dealings, unwavering respect for colleagues in the field, including artists, fellow managers and agents, and presenters, and exemplary ethical behavior and a high level of integrity towards the entire performing arts field. To present today's award for excellence as a manager or agent is Liz Silverstein from Siegel Artist Management.
Thank you. 17 years ago, I called my dear friend and mentor to many, the late Gordon Smith of blessed memory, and said, "Gordon, we need another member of the Siegel Artist Management team." And Gordon thought about that request for a couple of months and then called me and said in his own inimitable way, "I think I might have someone for you." And a month later, I spoke for the first time to Jennifer Morris. And Jennifer was then living in Boston. She'd started with Gordon at the Des Moines Civic Center, then worked at the Des Moines Ballet. And I said, how about if you came to Arts Presenters and we had lunch together? So there used to be, story of my life, I know where things used to be, including most of you. And the cafe in the basement of the Hilton used to be a cafe, and we met for lunch. And I didn't ask Jennifer for a resume. I asked her to tell me about what she was doing. And what she was doing was working with 3 women jazz artists, and she told me about them. And 20 minutes later, when she drew breath, stopped, she does occasionally, I knew we had found the next member of our team. And she came that year to our Siegel retreat in St. Augustine on the beach. Ethel Siegel had died the preceding year, and as Jenny and I took an early morning walk on the sand, as we came back to the condo, there in the sand was written SAM, our logo that we use quite frequently. We are the SAM team. And we thought, Ethel must be up there watching somewhere. Jenny was a board member of NAPAMA for 6 years, including treasurer, but she's been on the PA presenters board. She's put together countless workshops, but most noticeably, she dreamed up and made possible the Agents and Managers Retreat, held for 3 days, open to any artist, manager, agent, or presenter who would like a chance to rest, rejuvenate, learn from your colleagues, and have quite a remarkable experience. It's now starting its 4th year. And on the first year, Jenny asked all of us to please give an example of one of the smartest and dumbest things we'd done that year. Well, I didn't know what I'd done that year, but I do know what one of the smartest things I've done in a career that's almost 40 years old now, and that was to hire Jennifer Morris. So on behalf of all the artists, the managers, the presenters whose lives she has touched, it is my distinct privilege to give this award to my colleague, my partner, and my best friend, Jennifer Morris.
I just want to thank the NAPAMA board and also to my many colleagues, from artists to presenters to my agent and manager mentors. I've been blessed to work with some really incredible people over the years. But in particular, I really need to thank my daughter Amy, who is here with me today, because as a single mom in this business, she put up with a lot. And we had a code word, we had a safe word where she would come into my office and she would lean in the doorway and she'd say, "I need some me and you time," which meant that I immediately stopped what I was doing. We went in the other room and we planned something we were going to do that weekend. So to Amy, I want to say thank you for putting up with a lot. And I'd also like to thank my first mentor, who is the late Gordon Smith that Liz mentioned. On my job interview at the Civic Center, he said to me, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" Now, we all hate that interview question. And I looked at him and I said, "Not here." And I said, "I'm moving to Boston in 5 years. I'm not sticking in Des Moines." And he hired me. I don't know why, but he did. And so Gordon Gordon always kept tabs on people that he kind of saw something in, and I always felt obligated to kind of live up to that. And I feel that way actually about Ethel Siegel. And the beach omen that we had was really cool that Liz mentioned. But several years later, I was working a job and I was incredibly burned out. I had worked way too many hours for too little pay. I know a few of you might resemble that remark. And I was actually considering leaving the industry when Gordon called me and out of the blue. I hadn't talked to him in a long time, and he said, "What are you doing?" And I told him, and he said, "What do you want to be doing?" And I said, "I really miss booking. I love programming everybody's series with them." And he says, "Do you know Liz Silverstein?" And I didn't at the time, and I'm so very happy to say that yes, indeed, I do know Liz Silverstein quite well, best marriage I ever had. And together with Elisa Carcazer, I just want to say thank you. I couldn't possibly want for more in this business. Thank you.
Hell, when you have to bring the microphones down. The NAPAMA Award for Excellence in Presenting the Performing Arts is given each year to a distinguished colleague presenter. The nominated recipient should be from a not-for-profit performing arts organization, and she should exhibit proven dedication in the future of the performing arts, a high level of professionalism, unwavering respect for colleagues in the field, artists, managers, and fellow presenters, and exemplary ethical behavior. In addition to the physical award, the award recipient receives a $1,000 check on behalf of NAPAMA made payable to the individual's organization with the funds to be dedicated to the organization's endowment. If no endowment exists, the award is dedicated to the organization's operation budget. I am very pleased today to announce the recipient of the NAPAMA Award for Excellence in Presenting the Arts, Mr. Brian Jose, Executive Director of the Fine Arts Programming at the College of Saint Benedict and St. John's University. Brian has been the Executive Director of the College of Saint Benedict and St. John's University Fine Arts Programming Department since August of 2008. He is responsible for establishing the strategic and programmatic direction for the department and is strongly committed to collaboration between the arts and community life. With more than 25 years of experience in our field, Brian has knowledge across a number of arts organizations and disciplines, including orchestras, museums, theater, dance, visual arts, arts technology, and higher education. Before arriving at CSBSJU, Brian was the Director of Marketing and Communications for the Clarice Smith Performing Arts Center at the University of Maryland. He also worked at the Arizona State University Herberger College of Fine Arts and was also involved with the opening of the Phoenix Museum of Art. As a member of the APAP Board of Directors, Brian remains an active and involved participant in our industry. I had the pleasure of meeting Brian for the first time last year at Midwest Arts when we were both speakers on a panel. And I have to say that in addition to all of the other qualities we discussed, he's one heck of a nice guy. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Mr. Brian Jose.
Thank you, Jerry, for those very kind words. Thank you, NAPAMA. Those of you who know me know I can be freakishly verbose, and I'm completely at a loss right now. And I'll tell you why. I think the very bedrock of our industry are the partnerships, the collaborations, and the friendships between artist, manager, and agents and presenters. Right. And that wasn't an applause line, but thank you. That whatever success we enjoy as a field is built on that foundation of those relationships. So as a presenter, to be recognized by those very artist managers and agents is so touching. I'm completely at a loss. And I hate to name names, but geez, how blessed am I to work every day with the Laura Colbys and the Larry Cossins and the Miles Weinsteins and Sue B and Sue E and Rachel Cohen and Deirdre Valenti, of course, and Lisa Booth. And Mark Balin, if I didn't mention your name, you know who you are. And I so appreciate our relationship. I want to make sure to thank the College of Saint Benedict, St. John's University, where I'm employed, for their incredible support. It allows us to do the type of presenting that we do and to take care of the artists in the way that we take care of them, that hospitality that I think makes a difference in their lives and certainly makes a difference in our lives. I want to take a moment to thank my wife, Patty Candela. She's beautiful, she's wonderful, lovely, hilarious, smart. Upon learning that I was receiving this award, she said, "Really?" She couldn't be with us today, but I love you, hon. And I want to point someone out to you, the Deputy Director of Fine Arts Programming. Whatever good work we do has her handprints all over it. She is a superstar in our industry. You need to know who she is. Brooke Horsch, where are you? Would you stand up? I'd like to close again by thanking Jerry, thanking NAPAMA. I'm so touched for this award. And thank you, artists, managers, and agents, for being my collaborators, my partners, and my friends. Thank you.
At this year's conference, we have piloted a number of events, including this morning's 5 Minutes to Shine, the aim of which is to showcase big ideas, light bulbs, if you will, drawn from all sectors of our membership. Those potentially shining moments that may or may have not been acted upon, but yet stimulate us to think different. Thank you, Steve Jobs. So, at the end of the session, the audience voted on which 5-minute presentation, which light bulb they would most like to have presented or shared with you all at this luncheon. So here we go. To share this with you, please welcome Leeward Assistant Theater Manager at the Leeward Theater at the University of Hawaii Leeward Community College Theater, Lehua Simon. Lehua Simon.
So they're going to bring up my presentation. And I just want to tell you all that this is the first time I'm speaking to this many awesome people all at once. So I'm hoping I can have the power to shine for you today. Okay, so we're ready to begin. And my name is Lehua, and I come from the Leeward Theater. You're going to go back one slide, thank you. I come from the Leeward Theater, which is located on the leeward side of the island of Oahu. And things are getting crazy now on the projector. So I'm just going to see if they can figure it out. Yeah, but I come from Hawaii, and I work at the lovely Leeward Theater. And when I started working there, someone told me that you're going to go back one slide. Back it up. There we go. So someone told me that the land upon which the theater rests was once occupied by a heiau, an ancient Hawaiian temple. And upon the arrival of Western civilization, the heiau was destroyed, but upon that same land was built a Christian church. Now you can change it. So certain sites in the Hawaiian Islands are believed to possess what they call mana. And mana is a word used in many Pacific languages, and it is a reference to the existence of supernatural power. And the thing is that when I go about my business at the Leeward Theater, I can feel the mana. I feel that the theater I work at is really a temple built upon land that has been dedicated for temples throughout the ages. And maybe I'm just imagining that, but also maybe there's not really a difference. So anyways, recently the Leeward Theater was blessed by a new theater manager, and when he arrived, he brought with him a flying pig, and I've decided that this pig will be named Dangerfield. So Dangerfield is not actually a flying pig because those don't exist. He's really a piece of porcelain glass, and around his neck we've strung a kukui nut lei. So the kukui nut in Hawaiian culture is a sign of prosperity and perseverance because it can make an oil that will light a flame throughout the night. And as a side note, the volunteers that I work with at the Leeward Theater, they also wear the kukui nut lei during our performances. And what I want to say about Dangerfield is he is a piece of art, but he is also a flying pig adorned with the sign of prosperity and perseverance. And so he's a crafted thing that's been infused with greater meaning. And for me, this infusion gives me hope. So I take a piece of art and I put spirit into it. And when I do that, it gives it supernatural powers. It gives it the mana, and it's the mana of hope. And so art like Dangerfield can be a spiritual practice. And the great thing about my spiritual practice with Dangerfield is that it gives me a greater power to be the assistant theater manager at the Leeward Theater, because he sits on my boss's bookshelf, and every day he reminds me that we have to keep our hopes up. So the mana that I'm putting into Dangerfield is equal to the mana that he gives me back. And I hope all the arts presenters in here will agree that it takes supernatural powers to do our job. So I wonder if what would happen if we infused the arts with a greater sense of spirituality, if we tapped into the mana that exists in our theaters. Would this perhaps return us to the true power of art and give us what we need to do our jobs better? I don't know, because I've only had Dangerfield and my new theater manager for like 6 months, and we're still wondering how to bring the spirit back to the theater and how that will support us. But I came up with 3 things that have helped me over the last year. 3 spiritual practices, and you're welcome to use them or come up with your own. The first thing is prayer, but prayer doesn't always happen like this. When we were looking for our new theater manager, I gathered the community of our theater together, and I engaged them in activities that would help us define what we wanted the universe to bring to us. And in a way, we were praying, but I didn't tell them that. The next thing is to believe. When the former theater manager left, I was in no place to take over. I was finishing my master's degree. I was suffering from a medical condition that disabled me from eating and digesting my food, and I was losing the love of my life because the life that I was living was destroying the woman that he loved. And at that point in time, I had no idea how I was supposed to get through all of that, let alone do my job. And but at the same time, I believed in my job, and I believed in my theater, and I believed in myself just long enough to walk through the darkness until my new theater manager could find me and bring me out into the light. So we found the light. And then that's the third thing, is that we need to seek the light of the divine. Now, this is Charmaine Clamore. She's a Filipina jazz singer. You don't see that many of those. But when she arrived at our theater, I realized she was more than that. She was a channel for the divine. And when she sang, the people of our theater could hear the divine, and they could see the divine, and then they could feel and know the divine through her. And what I want to say and ask you all is, isn't that what it's all about? Isn't that what this stage is for? Thank you.
Lehua, come on back. Lehua.
And with that light bulb, we're going to take a few minutes for lunch, and we will come back with the Award of Merit. Here we are.
Wow. Hi, everyone. Thank you, arts presenters, and thank you for allowing me this opportunity, even though I think that I've actively avoided for about 20 years having to talk about what this man means to me. But here I am, trying not to be too extemporaneous. I've created a few notes. One of the things that I've noticed at the conference, and I'll just share it, is that we talk a great deal about risk-taking. Presenters taking more risks. How do artists take risks? So on and so forth. Risks, lots and lots about risk. And I think when I think about Philip, and I think about his impact in the context of what I do and have done, and many of us, and I think it's an important thing to keep in mind, is that every time an artist makes a choice to work with us, they're entrusting us with their work and the vulnerability of those ideas and the potency of those ideas and the identity they're seeking. Philip in my life was a person that, as a young curator, an artist myself, who had absolutely no identity whatsoever, took a risk on agreeing to entrust me with his work that has catapulted me on a 20-some-plus year journey of being able to be, as she described, connected to the divine through what it is that a person does. He instilled in me the ethical and creative compass for how I would end up navigating the lines and points of latitude and longitude so that I could live both a creative life of integrity, but also be able to use my own self in service to others very deeply. So I can't thank you enough. I think, also, as I guess an homage to Shine, one of the things about why shining is so alluring to us is that actually it's the act of something reflecting light back to us, which is most certainly Philip Glass in very deep ways. But I think beyond reflecting light back is that you have such a profound ability and connection that you actually emit your own and give it to us, which I thank you for. I want to thank you for your music, which has, with great repetition, built bridges between traditions that have never been crossed before without you. I want to thank you for your composition. I want to thank you for the piano, the violin, the organ, the woodwinds, percussion, choral, the sitar, the kora, the pipa, the flute, the voice, the didgeridoos, the strings, the symphonies, the etudes, the film scores, the acoustic and amplified, the intimate and voluminous. Again, thank you for the piano. For Wichita and the world, for the constellations that connect us across all hemispheres anyway. Thank you for bringing me, and to us also, the poets in your life, the painters in your life, the sculptors in your life, the theater makers, the choreographers, the composers, the other musicians, the spiritual leaders, the philosophers, the children, the scientists, the designers, the chefs, the great questioners of our time, that through you we are connected to, and I think importantly, they are connected to one another and each other.
Thank you.
Thank you for your great good humor, your incredible wit, your mischief, your joie de vivre, your kindness, your deep compassion, your rigor, curiosity,
voracious appetite for life, for the large gesture and for the small gesture. Phil asked me not to embarrass him, which of course meant that I would, and I'm about to do that. I want to also thank you for the taxi ride that you took me on with a good friend when we went up to MoMA in order to see a film that was screening up at MoMA. And in the process of riding in the taxi with Phil, he of course took the opportunity to ask the taxi driver where it was that he found a useful place to urinate in the city of New York. And the taxi driver, quite surprised, shared that information with him. And as we were getting out of the taxi, Phil gave him not only a tip, but a tip that was probably more useful than the money, which is where Phil, when he was a taxi driver, found profoundly useful and discreet, which I will not share now. But it is again a gesture of also him knowing, and I could see it in the taxi driver's eyes, that he was going to deploy this idea and location immediately. And in fact, Phil probably knew that this secret location was going to be more useful than the extra buck, the small gesture in the large frame. Thank you for making the music that other artists listen to when they are creating, that other people listen to and we turn to transport ourselves away from the rules, obligations, norms, distractions, pressures of the everyday world, so that we can find and settle inwardly to spend the time with our own thoughts, and importantly, our own dreams, where the quietude comes in and an ebullience comes out, and we are able to progress into the other world we get to spend less time in through your music. And apparently many do this because if you do a little hashtag moment, or you spend an @ or a hashtag around with Philip Glass's name, you find that people in their regular lives, as they go to approach the fixing of their bike or other various kinds of tasks, they often share that they're listening to Philip Glass. So you have also been able to put, as have we, your music to great good use and usefulness to our dreams and our everyday gesture. This award of merit is given to you, I think, not because of all of the fundraisers you've done to help our organizations, but for the music and for the sustained, repeating structure within that music, but more importantly, perhaps, the sustained, repeating structure of your generosity of purpose, and for emitting that light that brings us ever always to love. Philip Glass, thank you.
I can't believe how many of you I know already. Just to show what needing a job will bring you to. I've been around a lot, and I've met a lot of you, and it's been wonderful. Well, I really wanted to talk about arts presenters in a different way, not so much about myself, which you probably know enough already, but what art presenters means to the performers. This began, what, about in the 1960s, early 1960s? My first tour, let me just tell you about my first tour, I'll give you an idea. My first tour was about 10 years after this had started, but which really became engaged in a very active and productive way it has been in recent years. When I first came back from Europe, I sent out 120 letters that were Xeroxed, and the letter said something like, "Dear sir, dear madam, I am in your neighborhood, and as I'm already there, I can offer you a concert at a very low price." I sent out 120 letters, and I got 6 replies, and that was the first tour. And that first tour, it took me, we rented a van and a car, and I put everybody in. The equipment was in the van, and the players in the car. It's my first ensemble. It is this. Actually, three of those people are still playing with me today. We drove first to Minneapolis, and that's where I met Sue Weil in Minneapolis at the Walker Arts Center. After that, this is so funny coincidence, I went to Portland. Christy wasn't there yet. I met her a few years later, Christy Edmonds, in Portland. From there, I went down to UCLA, where I've been there many times since then. But what I was looking at, audiences that wanted to meet artists and artists who wanted to meet audiences, and we had no way of meeting. I mean, I did it by just sending out letters. That was the best way I could figure of doing it. And the crazy thing was that it actually worked. But it also tells you that if that could work, that there was a real need for something. Now, we heard a little before about how, and I thought it was a very good point, about how presenters and people who represent artists talk together, and how those conversations are so productive. From the point of view of the performer, we're looking at these spaces, and there was a huge gulf. How do we jump over? How do we meet the audiences that want to see us, hear us, and how do they get to meet us? And this organization has really been the most dynamic in making that happen. We actually now have real networks between artists, between presenters, which really didn't exist 30, 35, 40 years ago. It's made a huge difference for the performers. By the way, something I want to say, one thing that you may not be so aware of. When this week started, my younger friends, mostly in Brooklyn and downtown New York, but they could also be in the Bronx and in Queens, the excitement that they felt was tremendous. It was electrifying. The number of young people doing performances, on which many of you have been to, it's something that you may not know about, but to the young people here who are working as performers in dance and theater and music, it's an electrifying week. I recently was talking to a friend who went to see, I'm going to get this right because I know this guy, Joseph Keckler. He did a piece called I Am an Opera at a place called Incubator at St. Mark's Church. I'm not going to mention a lot of names because there's so many names I could mention. And I was talking to a friend of mine, I said, oh, how was Joseph's opening? They said, oh, it was great. I said, how many people came? He said, about 40. Well, you know, the place only holds 75 people anyway, so that's half full. And they said, do you think any of the arts presenters were there? And he said, oh, definitely, they were there. And the satisfaction that they felt, that playing in places like whether it be Williamsburg or downtown New York. By the way, in that same place, a guy, Dave Malloy, has a piece coming up. Look, there's so many. There is a wonderful generation of young performers now that I'd love to see their work. First of all, I'd love to see it because it isn't mine. and they're starting in a different place, and I do it with great joy and great pleasure. And these are the people who you will be working with and you will be seeing. And you're here in New York, they're all over the place. These things are going on. They start around 12 o'clock in the afternoon and go to 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. I think that there are ways that you have of finding out about those things. So I wanted to say that this, it's more than a marriage. It's a real relationship that the performers now have and can have with audiences, and it is through arts presenters. And for that, actually, I'm very grateful for the award. Thank you very much. But I think actually you should get the award. Thank you.
Philip, congratulations and thank you for those inspiring remarks. Super. We invited last year's awardee, Abel Lopez, to announce the Fan Taylor Distinguished Service Award for exemplary service to the field of professional presenting. But unfortunately, due to an illness in his family, Abel's not with us today. So please welcome my friend and another Fan Taylor awardee to this stage, Executive Director of Arizona State University Gamage and Assistant Vice President for Cultural Affairs, Colleen Jennings Rogensack.
First of all, Philip, I love you. Secondly, after those words, can I get an amen? Yeah, amen, amen. You know you love the association you're with when you come here and they say, can you give the fan? And I went, what? What? You have to prepare a long time. They go, you can do this. I said, okay, where's the speech? You can write this too. So, thank you, Mario. The Fan Taylor Distinguished Service Award is presented to an individual with outstanding service, creative thinking, and leadership that has had an effect and an impact on the profession of presenting and/or the Association of Performing Arts Presenters. So this is our award. This is our award that we give to everyone in this room for the work that you do. This award honors Fan Taylor for her many contributions to the field of presenting. Fan Taylor was instrumental in the development of what was then called the Association of Colleges and Universities and was its first executive director. So this award carries a rich legacy. Our Fan Taylor recipient shines brightly and has done so for many years, creating a constellation of work which has served artists and presenters, enriching communities and changing the cultural landscape. This recipient illuminates the way we work in our profession, engaging and challenging us to go deeper. This year's Fan Awardee has taught us the importance of the partnership, thank you, Philip, between the artists, the presenters, and the managers. Always engaging in the dance of dialogue, and at the core of that dialogue, in the theater of our stories. This organization has taught all of us that partnership, belief in the creative process, dedicated support of the artists will enrich culture and touch the lives of our audiences of all ages. As they like to say in Texas, this organization has walked its talk for 30 years. This inspirational organization has enhanced our community's lives with the theater and dance artists. Through the work of their artists and partnership with presenters, the field has learned new ways for engagement. I know firsthand because their impact with the American Festival Project changed my life and the way I practice our arts. They taught us to engage our communities through story circles, deepening relationships, and realizing that the seeds of cultural participation and community must start young. The organization has spread its glow for the past 15 years to also provide engaging and meaningful performances for youth and family audiences as well. Now, if you haven't guessed already, with all that, Holden and Arts Associates, bravo, yes, still find time to do more. Michael and Theresa Holden have been dedicated stars to our field. Theresa has taught the Emerging Leaders Institute at the Association of Performing Arts Presenters for 8 years, served as project producer for many community-based projects across America. As today, we are still looking at new models for integrating artists into academic curriculums in colleges and universities, Theresa Holden began that process many years ago. She was on the vanguard. Theresa, Director of Arts and Community Connections, also co-director of Holden and Arts Associate, is a primary collaborator with Roadside Theater and Junebug for 28 years. And together with John O'Neill, she received the Ford's Foundation Leadership for a Changing World. I came to know Michael when I first went to the Western Alliance of Arts Administrators conference. Michael was at every session. Michael was a contributor. Michael had the ability to ask questions and respond with artists. Michael was awarded the WA Leadership, formerly known as the Jerry Willis Award, for his dedication to the field. Both have served as board members for Arts Presenters and for WA,
and they continue to serve on countless committees. And this is their 30th anniversary, and they are celebrating it with the greatest number of performances by their artists across the country. Holden and Arts Associate continues to shine on. Please help me welcome Michael and Theresa Holden to the stage.
Complete and total surprise. And thank you all so much. 31 years of doing this work, and I have to say that truly the spirit of it continues to shine in the partnerships that we have forged over all of these years. There is no other transaction except those partnerships in this work. And first and foremost, our love and our passion that creates those relationships comes from the incredible artists that we have worked with for all of these many years. And I first want to thank them, their brilliance, their dedication, their passion, everything they've taught me and taught Michael to bring to you and to share with you. And thank you so much. And I want also to lift up the last 13 years that I've had the incredible benefit of working with my partner, Rosalba Rolón, in working with some of the most stellar new leaders in our field through the Emerging Leaders Institute. Incredible new people, new visions, new ideas, new passion, that we are in such incredible good hands. I can't even begin to tell you what's out there. Most of you know it because you have them in your organizations. Thank you.
I'm going to try something up here. One of our artists, John O'Neill, in the character of Junebug Jabbo Jones, says, "There's a heap of difference between a liar and a storyteller." A liar is somebody who aims his rump at the seat of power and covers things up mostly for his own benefit. But a storyteller is somebody who goes along and uncovers things and gives people the tools to know how to do their jobs better and how to be better in their communities. And you're storytellers, you're all storytellers, and we want to thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now to present the William Dawson Award for Programmatic Excellence and Sustained Achievement in Programming, please welcome a brilliant and a well-respected young artist and member of this year's fabulous conference committee, Vijay Iyer.
Hi everybody, how are you? Luckily I'm a jazz musician, so I'm used to being accompanied by the sound of cutlery. So, it was funny, I ran into Philip, Mr. Glass, on the way, just on the way in, and he said, "Oh, what brings you here?" And I said, "I'm presenting an award." And he said, "Oh, the squeeze is on." So I just thought I'd share that. Before I talk about the award, I actually just want to take a moment to talk about someone we lost last week. He's a friend and a hero and a teacher of ours. His name is Imamu Amiri Baraka, passed away on Thursday. Just as many of you were arriving here, we got the news of the big hole in the universe that we now have to fill with his passing. I'm here because of him. You know, I first played with him in '96 and played with him for several years afterward, and learned so much by his side about why we do what we do. I just want to quote something he told my friend Saul Williams. Saul asked him about the function of an artist, and he said, "I believe what Keats and Du Bois believed, truth and beauty. There's no sense in being an artist except to tell the truth and make the world more beautiful than it is. Now the problem with that," he continued, "is that there are a lot of obstacles in the way." So, you know, and that's what he dedicated his life to, is truth and beauty in the face of obstacles. Defiant presence. And that's why many of us are here, you know. 4.5 years ago, I approached my dear friends at Harlem Stage. You know, I'd come to know them over the years. If you're in New York for long enough, it's like you start to feel like Forrest Gump, like you're just sort of standing next to some amazing person or thing that's happening. And like, oh yeah, I was there, kind of, yeah, in the background. So I had come to know my friends Pat Cruz and Brad Learmonth over the years. And I decided to approach them about taking on this pretty difficult project, a thing I've been working on with my colleague Mike Ladd, who's a poet. Over the last decade, we've developed this kind of genre of our own. I guess we've been calling it irritainment, which is which means trying to create art about something that no one really wants to talk about. And you know, the thing is, as artists of color in America, we find that we are so often asked to represent heritage and community and basically the past, and rather than talk about the present and the future, or take on big questions, the questions of truth and beauty and impossibility. So that's why we need organizations that will embrace artists of color to talk about what's happening today and tomorrow, not just what happened yesterday. So that's why I stepped to Harlem Stage. And I'm so grateful to you guys for welcoming us into your community and to allowing many artists like us to be radically present. So thank you to Harlem Stage.
While we knew of the award, we were not surprised by it. We were completely surprised to have Vijay introduce us. I can't tell you how meaningful that is. I want to thank APAP. I want to thank Maria for thinking of us. I want to thank the committee who chose us for this. And I must thank the incredible team of folks at Harlem Stage who have made it what it is today and over the past 30 years. And Brad will speak for himself, but he has been there for much of that 30 years. And I want to thank the young woman whose name was not in the program, and I've lost it, but I didn't lose the intent of what she had to say. This idea of mana, of the divine, of spirit, is, I think, the reason that we do what we do, because the Gatehouse, the Harlem Stage Gatehouse, and if you've not been there, you must come, is a cathedral, if you will, for the spirit. And the artists who have come to present there have inspired us. And I think when we think about that word, inspired, they are bringing the spirit in. Vijay is one of those artists. And we have done what we've done because essentially we felt 30 years ago when we began, and some of it remains true today, that artists of color have not been given the proper platform in which, through which, they can inspire not only our Harlem community, but the entire nation and the world. And we are dedicated to that. So we say, hey, to Amiri Baraka. I'm able to say hey to my husband, the late artist Emilio Cruz, who first inspired me and taught me of what it would mean to have my life infused with spirit, to have it changed, so much so that I have wanted to do the same for everyone that I encounter, everyone that we bring into the Gatehouse, because I feel like we are more complete human beings for doing that, for understanding that. And of course, I believe that it's going to bring world peace, but when, I don't know. But between the work that Vijay has done, being able to work with Jason Moran at the very beginning of his career when we did Pianos for Duke, through what he is about to do in celebration of Henry Threadgill, a name that I don't hear enough of in terms of what he has contributed to us. One of the most wonderful things that I had the opportunity to do was to celebrate Cecil Taylor, a name that is much more recognized in Europe and Japan than right here in America. And we had an opportunity to celebrate him, and in doing so, to bring younger artists like Vijay, and not so young artists like Baraka, to speak to us, to inspire us, and to make us better human beings. And I'm a proselytizer for the arts. I'm a fan of the arts. And we will keep on doing what we're doing with the incredible team that we have, some of whom are here. And here's Brad to speak for himself. But thank you all so much.
Thank you, Pat. Absolutely everything she said, so I won't repeat it. But this has been a long and personal journey for me. So 26 years ago, I was offered a job that I wasn't even looking for. And when I walked through the doors of Harlem Stage, I was immediately illuminated by the light of its powerful and urgent mission. I was awakened. And I have been continually awakened in countless ways along the way. It is impossible not to be so when working with some of the great icons of the last 100 years, many of whom have now gone, but in whose spirit and work lives on because we make sure that it does. People like Odetta, Max Roach, Abby Lincoln, Betty Carter, Harry Belafonte, Ossie Davis, Ruby Dee, Catherine Dunham, Cecil Taylor, Tito Puente, Eddie Palmieri, Sekou Sundiata, and Amiri Baraka. Or the hundreds of promising emerging artists who stand on their shoulders, and we have gratefully had the ability to give them the support for their first steps, some of whom have turned out to be, Kyle Abraham. Or the thousands of young students whose world we have infused with art because it is our duty and our joy as a community resource, and sadly, it is still undervalued in our education system. We believe, And some of them come back as artists, technicians, and administrators, and we know that it is at least in part because of a seed that we planted. I was awakened when Nelson Mandela came to our stage for a town meeting. I was awakened when Max Roach remounted We Insist with Cassandra Wilson. When I first heard Abby Lincoln open her mouth to sing anything. When Nora Chip Palmieri and Kyle Abraham ignited our stage with brilliant new works. When Vijay Iyer or Jason Moran touched the piano and revelations fly forth. When Sekou Sundiata came into my office 10 years ago and said, Brad, I need support for a big project that examines the soul of post-9/11 America. And I was amazed and awakened and of course said yes. And that of course went on to become the America Project in the 51st Dream State. When the luminous Emmeline Michel asks help to create a tribute to her beautiful and suffering Haiti after the earthquake, of course we say yes, and it was a beautiful celebration. When Vijay and Mike, the project you heard about, want to examine the dreams of veterans of color coming home from the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq and honor them with a beautiful cycle of poems and songs, yes, we dig in for 3 years and we make it happen. Or when Carl Hancock Rux hands us a brilliant opera about a Haitian revolutionary named Makandal with a history embedded in it that we know too little about, and with issues that affect us right through today, we not only say yes, but we dig in, we hold on to it, we nurture it, we broaden its scope, and we become suddenly producers. And it premieres in the fall of 2014. See me if you want a piece of it. I'm serious. I am awakened by the visionary arts professionals I'm surrounded by in the field and in this room who have taught me so much and who have offered so much to the field. Not only the elders, but the people coming up that they so brilliantly spoke of, including my assistant director of programming who's here today, Simone Eccleston, and our entire team at Harlem Stage. We are engaged in keeping the arts alive, all of us, in a world that is going through a profound transformation. We live in a moment when the great upheavals of our time, as devastating and as destructive as they can be, and really must be, can be a fertile ground for the creative impulse to help us evolve into a landscape of change, a garden of hope. A world where someday Harlem Stage does not have to be identified as an organization that supports the artists of color because there will be true equity in the reality. So I thank Mario and the entire team at APAP. I thank all of us at Harlem Stage who I've ever worked with and who I work with currently for the great work we do together, the field for recognizing the work, and I urge us all, in the words of the great Sufi mystic poet, Rumi, don't go back to sleep. One final note, I want to thank my partner of 22 years, John Gilman, who's put up with my crazy schedule, and we are now blessedly fiancés because we can. Our final award today is very important, so thank you all for sticking with us through this final last award. Before I introduce the next person here, I want to take a moment to thank someone whose name I don't even know, but is to my left, our fabulous ASL signer. Join me in ASL to say thank you this way. Oh, this is clapping. Your name is Ruth. Ruth, thank you. Amazing. Amazing work. So the Sidney R. Yates Award for Outstanding Advocacy is critical. It advocates broad-based support for the arts, the core of who we are as an industry. Here from Washington, D.C. is Jonathan Katz, Chief Executive Officer for the National Assembly of State Arts Agencies, who will be presenting this integral award for us. Jonathan.
You know, when you speak to somebody after lunch, you think the same thing as Rumi. Don't go back to sleep. My friend Mario asked me to do 3 things in 3 minutes. Introduce my friend Bob Lynch, tell why Bob wins the Sidney R. Yates Advocacy Award, and in Mario's exact words, explain why we all love Bob. Robert Lynch is president and CEO of Americans for the Arts. In 1996, he masterminded the merger of the National Assembly of Local Arts Agencies, which he had led for a dozen years, with the American Council for the Arts. Since then, Bob has overseen mergers with the Arts and Business Council and the Business Committee for the Arts. He has also enlisted the State Arts Advocacy League of America, which was the network of statewide advocacy groups, and the National Community Arts Network, which was comprised of statewide networks of local arts agencies. In addition, Bob has led AFTA's creation of a National Action Fund and a Political Action Committee to put some significant resources behind arts-friendly legislators. He's the guy who defends the NEA on Crossfire, and he's more than up to the task. Bob has made a unique contribution to the effectiveness of arts advocacy in the United States. He's shared his expertise in a dozen countries around the world, and for all this, we admire and we thank him. But there are at least 3 reasons that we love Bob. We love Bob at APAP because we recognize how much his effective advocacy derives from his talents as an artist and presenter. Woodworker, pianist, singer, guitar and mandolin player. Bob directed the Arts Extension Service at UMass for 9 years, and there he presented the New England Festival of the Arts. We love Bob because when we work with him, we get to spend time with the partner in his most artful merger, the brilliant and beautiful ballerina and fundraiser par excellence for National Public Radio, Diane Brace. So Bob was leading the applause. Ultimately, though, we reflect that love is somewhat of a selfish emotion. And we're reminded of Oscar Wilde's confession when he said, "Every time a friend of mine succeeds, a little something in me dies." Well, we love Bob because every time he succeeds, and that is often, a proud and meaningful bit of something inside all of us who care about the arts is made stronger and more effective. Please share the love with this year's Sidney R. Yates Advocacy Award honoree, our good friend Bob Lynch.
Thank you. You know, I want to first say thank you to Jonathan, my great friend for many, many years, and policy partner and music partner. We've had some wonderful late nights that can stay up later than most people at most conferences playing music. So enough about me. Scott Stoner asked me to come here and accept this award, and amazingly asked me to do 40 minutes on cultural policy. That does not happen very often at the end of a lunch, and Mario said that won't be happening today either. And that's leadership. So you have a great leader in Mario, and I want to just say congratulations. I want to thank APAP for having this award in the first place. It's wonderful to receive it, but for having this award in the first place. Advocacy affects some and produces some roughly $6 billion a year, more than anybody really realizes. 10% of all the budgets of nonprofits in America, local money, state money, federal money, and it's the advocacy work that makes that happen. It is what helps, and it's what Brad was talking about and Harlem Stage was talking about, is why we need advocacy in the first place, the money and to promote those kinds of causes. This award is particularly special to me because I got to work with Congressman Sidney Yates from 1985 for 13 years until he retired. And he was passionate about what you do. He was passionate about the arts. He was a master collaborator. He was a musician himself. And his secret weapon was a woman named Mary Bain. Mary Bain, and I love being old enough to know all these stories, but this woman, Mary Bain, chief of staff for him, came to Washington, D.C. in 1946 to work for Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And then in 1949 came as the staff person for Sidney Yates and was there for all those years. And what was wonderful about working with Mr. Yates, a lot of characters out there, is that we'd go visit, and he was a very busy man, and sometimes Mr. Yates would sit in another office, not meet with you directly, and Mary Bain would actually be meeting with you. You'd talk with her, with Mr. Yates yelling out corrections from the other room. So he worked as a music impresario even then. I want to thank particularly my partner in life, Diane Brace. She ran this conference for 5 years and was elected to the APAP board this morning. So I think maybe she kind of rigged it so I'd get this award. I'm not sure, but I thank her for that. And to all of you who greet me when I come to Arts Presenters, and I've been coming since 1976, and tell me how unworthy I am to have Diane in my life, you know, I get it, okay? I understand that. My terrific team from Americans for the Arts is how we get the mana for the work that we do, and a number of them, past and present, are here, but four of the present staff are here. I just want to say who they are. Nina Oslu-Tunjali, who is our Chief Counsel for Government and Public Affairs and who runs the Action Fund and the Political Action Committee. Mara Walker, who is our Chief Operating Officer, both of whom have been with me for over 20 years. I thank you so much for everything. Also, Barbara Schaefer-Bacon, who's here, a former board member here at APAP, was with me 35 years ago at the Arts Extension Service and still works with Americans for the Arts on our animating democracy work. And finally, Laura Kakaluski, a newcomer to us, but she's here doing her first workshops for, and presenting workshops for arts presenters on marketing. Board members, many board members have been critical. Abel Lopez, who's not here today, is the chairman of our board. But people like Halsey North were board members a long time ago of our organization, and Halsey and Alice have been so important to this organization. Our friends from the National Endowment for the Arts, many here. I see Patricia Walker Powell here, and Richard Huff from years back, who was critical in advancing our advancement of local government money. And then the members, the local arts agencies, and the citizen activists across the country. It does not happen without partners and a team. No one person can tell the stories, can be the storytellers that you were talking about. It needs an entire nation of those kinds of folks. And so one final group that I want to say thank you to are the artists who have come through for us over the years, the artists who have come to Capitol Hill. There have been many, but a few that are critical, and Philip talked about the fact that that audiences want to meet the artists. Well, so does the United States Congress. You may not know that they do, but they do, and so does any elected official. They want to meet the stars as well. And so a long time ago, some people no longer with us, people like Isaac Stern went to the Hill with me, and Eli Wallach, and Sarah Caldwell back in Massachusetts, and the great Billy Taylor, who was a mentor for me. And then today, artists who are there all the time for us, and there are many, but a few highlights are Robert Redford, which is why we got the $50 million jobs bill a few years back. One phone call at the end of a long advocacy process. Alec Baldwin, Yo-Yo Ma. I see Damian Wetzel here today. Kerry Washington, the great spokesperson for the arts today. And so, finally, I dedicate this advocacy award to any of you who are sitting here who take the time to write a congressperson or to call a state representative or to meet your city council member, because every one of the rest of us who work in the arts or who sit in an audience owe you a great debt of gratitude. You, all of you here, are powerful. You are the future. You are what is good about America, and you are not alone. And I thank you.
So, on behalf of APAP, please join me in extending a final heartfelt congratulations to all of the 2014 award honorees. And with that, we are done. There is still expo hours, special interest sessions, and please join us tomorrow morning for the closing plenary session with keynote speaker Fiona Shaw. Thank you.